me lose track of time. Hey, it is 5:30. You know what that means? It means that it is time for Happy Hour with Dr. Lisa. Hey, everybody. I'm Dr. Lisa. I am your host. Woohoo! I'm so happy today. I've been waiting all week to talk to you all. Some of you have been talking to me quite a bit, and I love it. Keep doing that. I have some other stories to tell you all just based upon some of the things that I'm hearing. So, if you'd like to talk to me, you can give me a call. The number is 765 205 1959. You can also hit me up on Gmail at kidscanseeghosts@gmail.com. And again, as I tell you every week, I'm all over social media. So right now I am live on both of my, Instagram accounts. I also have a Twitter page, Facebook, my gosh, some other social media pages that I can't even think of right now. So you guys can contact me there if you'd like to talk to me live on the Thank you. People actually talk to me live as I'm doing the podcast. So that's why sometimes I pause because I'm talking to people that are talking to me. And I appreciate that. So if you want to join the podcast, thank you. Make sure you do so. Shout out to my friend Dre. He is on here live on Instagram. Thank you, Dre. He's so supportive. He actually created the poster for this podcast. So he does really good work if you want to hire him or you need some, type of work done for your podcast or your websites, just let me know and I'll hook you up with Dre. Hey, it's also Black History Month. So happy Black History Month. I would be remiss if I did not tell you all about some really strong women, Black women that I have recently met within the last 7 to 8 weeks. And so I actually have some new listeners. So I want to shout out to those Black women for Black History Month. They have been the pillars behind who I am right now on my current job. So there were times, and they know this story very well, there were times when I've been really, really upset. And it would be those women who would come by and say, hey, how are you doing? Hey, we need you here with these kids, helping these kids. And hey, get it out and let's get it going because our kids need you. So, I haven't had that kind of emotional support from a job in a really long time. And so, I'm going to tell you how I feel. Sometimes it takes other Black women to snap you out of a funk. And these women have been instrumental in doing that to me. So, I appreciate some of them joining me now on the podcast and supporting me. And let me tell you guys, these are teachers, these are administrators, these are women who never met me in their lives, and I'm not a native of Illinois, who have said, hey, we need to embrace this woman right now to get her going so that she can be a help to the kids that we all see every day. And these are also social workers and other people around me who have been really inspirational to me and also helping me. So for this month, of course, I am going to talk about African American men and women who have made a significant impact in my life other than my parents. And so I'm going to start with them because I think it's well deserved, because without them, I do think I probably would have resigned from, my current job. So, hey, y'all. Hey, you know me and I know you're listening. So sometimes I go around the school and I say, hey, girl, hey, or hey, y'all, hey. So they know. And I want to take the time to thank them because I really appreciate it. So for all of you, if you want to call in to Podbean and talk to me, there have been quite a few people who have been sending me messages telling me about their stories and their work with children who can see ghosts. This is something that you don't prepare for. I mean, I'm prepared now, obviously, because it's been so many years of working with these kind of kids. But this is just something, you're welcome. this is just something that happens sometimes with people. And so if you want to share your stories, please feel free to call in and do that. I'll be more than happy to, to hear from you. The blog that I'm going to talk about today is actually, oh, I think somebody's trying to call in. Just 1 second. Hey,
Hello.
hello there.
Hi, Dr. Lisa.
How are you?
I'm good. It was such a perfect segue for what I wanted to talk to you about.
Well, I want you to know that everybody that's listening can hear you. So are you comfortable with that part
Yes,
of
I
it?
am. Yes, I am.
Oh boy, a
Oh
live
boy.
caller.
Well, I have been following you since blog one, and I listen every week, and I just love everything that you have to share and your storytelling and just your story sharing. Um, it's just been so influential. And I actually experienced my first nebulous child this week. I'm a
Oh my God.
school social worker, and it was just in a session, and the student was just starting to open up about a lot of things, and eventually shared that she can see ghosts. And I probably, before following you and listening to your story or to the everything that you have to share, would have been like, okay, yeah, this is probably would have brushed it off, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
But I got so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, I have to remember everything that Dr. Lisa told me. So as this student was opening up, she spoke about she sees a tall man with a top hat, who you have spoken on and written about. And
I don't know what it is about those top hats. And
yeah,
I don't know.
and that was what like triggered that story in my mind. I'm like, oh my gosh,
Mm-hmm.
it's happening. But it was very interesting, the stories, and I was really felt very honored that she felt comfortable enough to talk
Mm-hmm.
about this, because this is a student who doesn't often feel heard or feels brushed off. And so I was honored that she felt like I gave her the space to speak on something that she prefaced with, "You're going to think I'm crazy,"
Oh.
and so that's obviously she's obviously heard that before, but
Mm-hmm.
it was interesting. She said that she's not the only one in her family that can see these things or hear these things. She mostly hears voices,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it was that when she said that she feels like she can feel a presence, and it sounds and looks like her grandpa whispering in her ear, like that gave me chills.
Mm-hmm.
um and I have to be honest, it was a little um some of it, like I definitely like had I kept my composure, like my face, but my body was physically reacting to it. Like I had chills, like, oh my gosh, like
Yeah.
this, like, and it was just, but it wasn't like I was afraid. It was just like, oh wow, like
Mm-hmm.
everything that you have talked about, and you have said that, especially with therapists, that you will, if you haven't already, and I've been doing this for almost 10 years and I haven't, at least maybe I wasn't as aware, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was just, um, you know, it was just so good. It was so great to have this other perspective to when I was listening, because prior to, learning about nebulous children, and how you have kind of helped me see the difference between a mental illness and that, I most likely would have thought, okay, well, this student is, getting to an age where, yeah, maybe there was some, schizophrenia or a schizoaffective disorder or some sort of,
Mm-hmm.
mental illness. And I probably would have
Mm-hmm.
gone straight to that, just for my own, ignorance maybe,
Training,
yeah,
your own training. Mm-hmm.
training. Right. You're right. I was not trained, at my, graduate program.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think the University of Illinois offers that yet, but maybe. Um, but yeah, it was just very interesting. So she also spoke about, she said that they are, I did ask if, like what kind of feelings she got when these spirits were around, and she said she doesn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
They are dark spirits, and she knows. Oh, the other thing, I don't know if I mentioned this. I'm so excited to be talking to you, so I
Thank
hope
you.
it. But yeah, she said that she knew that her grandpa, when it looked like her grandpa and it sounded like her grandpa, it was not her grandpa, and
Yeah.
she did know that because she said it wasn't a good feeling, it was a dark feeling, and I didn't want it, and I didn't want to hear him, and if it was my grandpa, I would be happy. So she definitely recognizes that these are not
Yep.
good things, that these are dark spirits, and I think I may have used that phrase with her, and she was like, oh yeah, I like that better than ghosts. So
Mm-hmm.
that was but yeah,
What
she mentioned, oh, go ahead.
what phrase was that? That you
Oh,
like better?
she liked dark spirits, like
Yeah.
the phrase that, instead of, because she said that she can see ghosts,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think now, because this is like something I think about so often, it's like, oh, you mean like that? um but yeah, she said that she also feels like there's, something that's watching her through her window, that she like doubled up um her curtains. She put
Mm-hmm.
two pairs of curtains to try and keep it out, but no matter what, there's always seems to be like, it always somehow opens.
Mm-hmm.
um and so she said she's going to try and like safety pin it together. um and that, in her room, like her closet, was is very cold, even though there's a heat source like right next to it.
Yeah.
And it's always cold. And I was thinking about how, at your company, how you had your office and the
Yep.
closets, and I think I even like questioned that. I, typed to you like, well, did you bless the closets and all,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
so, and then the basement, she won't go in the basement, and
Oh, they don't like basements.
no, and it's just, and like, I'm just, everything that you have spoken on and talked about is like, it was all right there, and
Yeah.
it was fascinating, and I just was very intrigued and wanted to know more, um, and felt like, I just felt very, very honored that this student would be
Mhm.
comfortable enough to speak on this.
Well, I feel honored that you're speaking about it to all of
Oh,
us. Yeah, it's very, very brave of you. Thank you.
oh, thank you. Well, it feels like I'm just talking to you. I'm not thinking
You.
about all the other people.
Well, having a focus helps. So let me ask you something. Were you scared? Were you shocked, or what were your initial feelings? Because I had mine. So I'm curious about yours.
um, I was, well, first I was excited because this is something that, I'm, becoming passionate about and excited about learning. And so I was
Mm-hmm.
excited that this was going to be my first experience. I I did get scared. There was one story that she shared, because she said like lights will go on and off in her house and she'll get blamed for it. And then there was an incident with a plate where the plate, like, it fell off the counter, even though there was no reason for it to, but the way that it had fallen and shattered, it was, and it was like too forceful. And then like something, and that was when I like even just saying it right now, something like threw it or knocked it off, because then they were like, this is insane, like this isn't that like, how did this happen? And they did it with another plate, and they did it themselves, and they were like, if this were to fall, like there's no way it would shatter like that. And that story did like give me like I don't know, a feeling in my chest, like that scared feeling when you're watching scary movies.
That's what I was
like,
going to ask you. I was going to say, did you feel like you were listening to a movie?
Yes,
yeah, it feels that way.
Yes, yeah, and that was and then also when the student mentioned that she felt like someone was watching her, that also, like through the window, you know, that even if that were in, you know, real life, to have like a real person, like anything like that is just kind of like
creepy.
yeah, exactly. So but yeah, it was just, yeah, so that was about there were a range of emotions while I was while we were talking about this, but it was definitely excitement, and then some fear, but also you know, just
what was that fear? What was that like for you?
For me, it was like I felt like just, it's that similar feeling to like us watching a scary movie, like I didn't, but it's real. So then there's like that fear that like, oh my gosh, like this, it's even scary, like the fact that this is something that this person is experiencing, and you can't necessarily, like, I can't see it. What does it look like for the student? And that kind of and that uncertainty of, oh my gosh, like how could this possibly happen? And I guess like almost like an anxiety that I can imagine would develop over time, just with not knowing about like how to handle these things.
Yeah, I hear you. I don't know if you recall, but I talked about how you feel at one point when I was in one job and was in building 2, how I started to feel anxiety. Remember that?
Yeah.
And because it happened so much, and I didn't know what to do about it. Yeah, I can relate.
Yeah, it was just very I don't know. But I also felt really great because I was able to share some of the things that you've taught us and the listeners, and about the power of prayer, and which was again weird in a therapy setting. That's not again how we're trained, but I said, I'm not imposing any of my own beliefs or anything on you. I said, but, this has been known to work. And, do you have a Bible, and do you pray? And the student was saying how they were really into crystals, and they were very excited because they just got a job, and so now they can buy more crystals. And so, well, you have some crystals, and it's not really working. And but then she said something funny. Well, I can just throw them, and like they're hard enough, they'll get rid. Like if she throws them at that will get rid of the negative energy.
Oh my gosh! Yep, that's on TV. That doesn't work.
So, yeah, so I was able to share some of those things, and also then also give your information as as a resource
Oh,
and ways
thank
to read more about this, and that this isn't something that she's alone in, and that
you.
it's been going on for a long time. And there's like almost to validate her and help her,
Mhm.
give her another resource to reach out to.
Tell me
So thank
something, or
you.
tell you're welcome. Tell the audience, not just me.
Hmm.
What was this child's reaction to you listening to her without belittling her experience? Because it doesn't sound like you did.
Right. Yeah, no, I definitely did not. And I
Mhm.
maybe even like asked too many, well, I didn't ask too many questions, but maybe like, went a little too, but I wanted to let her know that I believed her. And it was very interesting. The student, their body language
Mhm.
completely changed. When they came in for a separate issue, in the chair, they had their heels like on the chair. So like all very, bunched up. And then the student already doesn't make a lot of eye contact.
Mhm.
We'll talk but like, we'll like look off to the side a lot. Just, I think it's uncomfortable. But
Mhm.
as we talked about it, the feet went like slowly down, more comfortable in the chair, and way more eye contact. So um, you could just see kind of like that protectiveness that was there. Like that body language showed me they were feeling more open to, um,
Mhm.
like their heart was open, like where it was, protected before by her legs and her knees up against her chest. It was, um, yeah, that was, I didn't really think about that. You could tell that, yeah, they were much more comfortable, even, you know, as that when we talked through that.
Did you have a feel for their mental health? Was there one moment when you said to yourself, is this a psychotic disorder? You understand what that means as a
Right.
therapist? Psychotic disorder.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, no, no. It didn't, it didn't come across, um, in a way that I thought this student needed to. There at no point with the like hospitalization or
Mm-hmm.
calling a crisis line that this child is going to hurt themselves, or that the voices are you know
Mm-hmm.
um, I've had other students where that is, I you know well, actually no, I haven't had, well, I that have said that that was happening, but it really, I don't think they they were too young to really understand what that question meant when you were asking that, like when you do
Mm-hmm.
the crisis,
Mm-hmm.
questionnaire,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
or that the crisis mobile line would, have you ask. So I had younger kids who would say that, but I don't know if they truly understood what that meant.
Mm-hmm. It's an amazing feeling um, when and this is for all of you, not just the caller. Sometimes when you have kids come under your care or people in general, there's a time when you just sit and think, I don't know what to do because this is something outside of the area of my expertise. And when it is, it's okay to refer that person to someone who specializes in that particular challenge, right? So, for example, if a child came to me, um, that had some sort of personality disorder, histrionic or, narcissist, schizoaffective disorder, I would refer that child because I don't specialize in those things. So I can't be the appropriate person to help that child. Did you ever feel at that point in meeting this person, this is your very first experience, it will happen again to you?
Yeah.
And this child, prepare yourself, feels comfortable now with you. So this is a child who will come to you from now on about the ability to see ghosts. At least that's how it happened to me.
Okay.
And they love talking about it. So, did you ever think, obviously, you didn't think that, this would happen to you. I don't think any therapist is
Yeah.
prepared for it to happen. But the purpose of this blog and this podcast is to prepare all of you, especially parents, when you encounter kids that can see ghosts, because it can be scary and you just don't know what to do. Did you kind of stumble like, oh, crap?
Um,
There's a kid in front of me who can see ghosts. What am I supposed to do about it? Or were you prepared?
I I think had I prior to this blog and podcast, I would have been like, oh crap. But I
Mhm.
did. I felt prepared that I knew how to react. I knew how to, just be open, and I knew kind of the things to listen for and to be aware of, and to not
Mhm.
go straight to something like history, personality, or
Mhm.
histrionic, or
Mhm.
any of that. Yeah, it was like it's another tool, I feel,
Mhm.
in my
Mhm.
tool, but like in my things that I can.
Your book of therapist tools.
That's right. That's right.
I really appreciate you talking about this because it's easy to feel as if it's only happening to you, because I felt that way. And so when you actually hear from other therapists that they encounter children that can see ghosts as well, or they have encountered, or they just encountered a child like this, like you did, some of the things that you said even validate me. And I appreciate hearing that. I mean, time and time again, I would hear kids talk about, oh, there's a man in my closet or on the side of my bed, and he looks
Hmm.
like he's from the 18th century. He has a
Yes.
top hat on and a freaking ball and chain. And I'm like, I used to think this is a movie. But you mentioned that. And that's
Hmm.
something that kids would tell me about this person. So I don't know if it's the same ghost. So I don't know what you think. But I'm like, does this ghost get around? Because it sounds like the same one.
I know.
I mean, he's
Well,
going to all the kids' homes and scaring them. I mean, what is going on here?
yeah, it's like the opposite of Santa Claus.
Yeah, absolutely. The ball and
um,
chain. You know what it looks like to kids? I'll give you an example. You watch since you brought up Christmas, do you watch Christmas movies where what is it? The spirit of the present, past, and the future?
oh
The
yeah.
one from the past is typically in your original Christmas movies a man with white hair with a dark suit and a top hat. You know what I mean?
That Yes.
That's what it
Yes.
reminds me of. That's what it reminds
What
me
is it?
of.
A
That's the
Christmas
visual.
Carol,
A
right?
Christmas Carol.
Yes,
You got
yeah.
it. Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
hmm
That's that's pretty much what I pictured. Or more recently, that there was a show on Netflix, The House on Haunting Hill, and there was a spirit that like would float around that looked like that too. And I was like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
of these things, all of these scary movies, they really are based on real
Yeah. I mean,
life.
yeah. What do I say? I mean, I bring up different shows all the time. Like I
Yes.
brought up Lucifer. I brought up Evil is another one. There's a little boy that plays an evil, and it made me think back to a lot of the stories.
Oh,
And I always say, what do I say? These writers and producers, they don't come up with this stuff on their own. These are some of their experiences, because these are some of the same things that the kids tell us, right? You just heard it.
yeah. Yeah. That's exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, if you don't mind, can I go back to one thing that you mentioned? Because we kind of skipped over it and I'm
Oh,
curious about it.
of course.
All right. One of the things that I did not hear too often from kids is something that you brought up, and I'm really interested in exploring it. It is aggression. You mentioned that this child told you that there was a plate that was thrown. Now, I've had experiences with kids where they would tell me that ghosts would tell them to harm other people, such as
Right.
fighting, but I've never had them, and I do know that kids have told me that they will move objects. For example, pencils on their desk when they're at school or something off the teacher's desk. I've had kids tell me that there were spirits following me and I just couldn't see them, things like that. But I don't really have experience with one telling me that, like in a movie, that they would actually throw a plate aggressively across the wall, and then the kid that you're working with said that it was done by those dark spirits because it shouldn't have fallen. Did they tell you?
Oh, it's actually Lisa.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, sorry, you cut out. What was
Oh,
that?
that's okay. The part where you talked about the plate being thrown aggressively.
Right.
Did they talk to you about that any further? Because that's
Um,
interesting to me. That's the aggressive component. That's what I was.
yeah, I that felt very, yeah, like movie-ish.
Mm-hmm.
And it was it was told in like almost like right after she spoke about the lights and like people getting upset with her because they think that she's leaving the lights on, and
Mm-hmm.
then the plate thing happened, and so they thought that she threw the plate and
Mm-hmm.
shattered it, and she was like, even if I wanted to, like, I couldn't. I
Yeah.
mean, and so that was how it was shared, and so I didn't really explore that anymore, but that was kind of the like how that came about, how
Mm-hmm.
she shared
Mm-hmm.
that. Um, but yeah, that does seem uh, like something out of like The Conjuring or
Yeah.
something.
Well, yeah, but we also know that there truly are dark spirits, and what is the job of a demon? It's to harm humans, right?
Right.
In that case, when it becomes aggressive like that, that makes me a little bit concerned. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. What
You
did
might
to
want
you
to
go
go
ahead?
ahead.
No,
Sorry.
you.
I said that might be something because, I'm sure we will talk about this more, um, to find out if there has been any. The student has a history of trauma,
Mm-hmm.
um, and so I don't think that they would have a problem. And they've shared this with me, so I don't think they would have a problem with kind of exploring that a little bit more.
I would be interested from the standpoint of, um, is this happening? It doesn't sound like this child is giving in to some of the demands. And I've worked with children who refuse to give in to the demands too. And if
Mm,
it is trying to get her attention by throwing something really hard, that gets a little scary to me for the sake of safety. Um,
that
do you?
does make sense because the student says that they when they go home, they go in their room, they lock the door, and they don't, or not, they just have nothing to do with any, like, that's just what they do. Like, it's a, yeah, that's,
You
so
mean
that would make sense.
this the student goes into their
Yeah, like,
room and okay.
yeah, I mean, just doesn't really interact much with anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
And just, that's how she unwinds.
Mm-hmm.
But also just wants to have
Yeah.
personal space, and but yeah, also probably not wanting to, you know, I don't know.
Well, there I when I hear about acts of aggression, I would explore it because I think, even for the sake of her safety, because I think you have
Yeah,
to be safe, even when especially when you deal with things well we can't see. I heard you say you can't see, but you want to make sure you have that help her to remain safe, even if she can see ghosts.
right.
Have
Yeah.
you thought about? asking more questions about that part of it?
I now that you mention it, I definitely will.
Mhm.
I think that that's something, yeah, that yeah, I'm still processing. Like that
Mhm.
wasn't something I even because it was a lot for my first time. But I think that that's
Yeah.
definitely something we need to talk a little bit more about. And I think I actually had to cut the session because it was needed to
Mhm.
get back to class. So, but I definitely will look more or dive a little deeper into that
Yeah, you
piece.
probably needed to decompress too because it's a lot and it's heavy and it
Yes.
gets heavy really quickly.
Yes. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was um like it's still I've woken up every day since and like that's the first thing on my mind. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
been
It's new.
interesting.
It's
Yeah.
new and it's interesting. Yeah. So tell me something. What questions may I answer for you now that you have your first experience?
Well, I mean, so you said um that you would kind of test
Yep.
kids that said this. So would that be appropriate for me to try and do something like that?
Well, this would be the first experience for you.
Yeah.
So when it's appropriate, so for example, I never initiated conversations about this at all, not once. If it came up, it was because the kids brought it up,
Hmm.
and then this was not our therapy session, or this was not our psychological testing session.
Hmm.
So I would give the kids the floor after we were done, which is harder for
Oh,
you
okay.
because it sounds like your time is limited. But
Hmm.
the way that I test it is that I always had to start with that first child. So this is your first child. This is your
Hmm.
first encounter. So what happened to me will be a little different for you because I didn't have enough information or enough data to gather the ability enough that would allow me to test. But because you now have this experience, you can go ahead and start gathering information so that this happens again, you can actually test. Okay.
Hmm.
So over time, I learned the connection between the kids, if that makes sense. So I can talk about children, all the children from A to Z, because they
Hmm.
all had the same experience around me. So they all saw, for example, the angel behind me. So when I would encounter a new kid, if we got on that topic, I can ask the new child, what do you see around me to prove whether or not they could see ghosts? Because every last kid in my care saw the same angels around me. You don't have that yet because it just started. So you can start when this one feels comfortable with you, you
Hmm.
can start gathering that type of information. Well, what do you see in here? Does this room make you comfortable? What can I do to make it more comfortable? Because some of the kids that I worked with didn't feel comfortable in my places of employment. They just didn't. They saw dark angels, they saw the little ghost boy, everything that I wrote about, so they didn't feel
Yeah.
comfortable. So for me, it was the same story over and over again. That could happen to you, but you
Hmm.
have to have the kind of evidence to gather that, to come to that conclusion. So you can start with this little one. They love to talk about their experiences, even if they're very dark, because they need you. They need someone to talk to. So they will talk to you when you see them again. They will talk to you and they
Hmm.
will share more things with you over time. And you can be direct if you want to and ask. That's how you gather your evidence. It's kind of like a structured clinical interview.
Yes.
Is that speaking
Yeah.
your language?
Oh yes. Yes. I hear
Okay.
you.
Yeah. And
um
that's how you gather your evidence. Yep. And
yeah.
then that's when you can test.
So is
For
there
example,
anything, oh, go
if
ahead.
a kid said to me that they saw a dark angel behind me, that's
Hmm.
not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And if they did, I would pray it away. And that's what
Mhm.
I do when I deal with that. And if they saw a third angel, which I know what the third angel does, and I don't talk about it too much on
Mhm.
purpose, then I know that they're seeing some of the same stuff that the other kids see. You'll get it over time.
Mhm. And is there anything else that I can, or anything else that you would suggest that I would do to help the student or?
When it gets too hard, have this student draw you a picture. I had a lot of pictures, even from teenagers,
Okay.
about what they see. hmm That's one route. Another route is just listening and learning. And sometimes I would let the kids teach me
Mm-hmm.
all about it. Writing it. They have whiteboards nowadays. God, I mean, I'm old. We used to use chalkboards back in the day. Someone
Oh,
asked
one of
me,
the buildings I work in still has chalkboards. I'm like, I have not seen a chalkboard in 10 years. This is crazy.
Mhm. Wow. In that information gathering stage, that's what you're doing. You're
Mm-hmm.
just allowing the kid to express themselves to you. You know, there wasn't a lot of talking that I did after therapy. I let these kids talk to me, which is why I have so much information, which
Yeah.
is why I know so much about the land where I work, for example. It's why I knew about some of the trauma that happened. I mean, one kid could see that there was a spirit. I don't even think I've talked about this, that there was a spirit of a little girl that was thrown off of a third floor balcony in building 3, a century ago.
Wow.
So, yeah, I haven't talked about that yet. So once they start talking to you, just be a really good listener. There's no therapeutic way to deal with this. I think as a therapist, the job is to distinguish between what is reality and what is not. And if it is a harm and if it is not, or if they want to harm themselves or if they don't, you use what you know clinically in order to address the mental health part. Otherwise, if their ability to see ghosts is not harming them or interfering in their daily activities, it's all right to listen to it and explore it.
I'm very
Yep.
interested. I'm very interested to listen.
It's interesting,
It is. It is.
especially because you can't see it yourself. Now, there's a lot of people, like even I got a message recently from someone who's being plagued by what she can see. And it
Mm.
is, in her words, not mine, in her words, is driving her crazy. That's what she said. And I have to know what to do about it. I'm not crazy, but it's driving me crazy. They will not leave me alone.
And
Mhm.
I mean, has she tried telling them to leave in God's name, or is this like,
No, we're going to work on that. But no,
okay,
some people, you have to be open to some people not believing in God. I mean, it's just the reality. Some people
right?
don't. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to find other ways to get them to trust that you know what you are doing when you share with them that it's okay to ask God to protect them and to remove these demons away from them. A lot of times I'll tell people, adults, you reign supreme. You know that, right? You are designated to fight these things. And they go, oh, because if you think about it, if you can see dark things, like I'm looking around the room now and I'm in my basement. And if you think about, if you look around the room and everything in the corner is dark, or even a dark angel, like a dark spirit with wings, and they're scaring you, I mean, that's a hard thing to live with for the rest of your life. And that's outside of mental health. So I'm strictly talking about being able to see ghosts. And so imagine if they throw a plate at you, or if they want to talk to you, or if they want you to go and punch someone or shoot someone in the foot. These are things that are plaguing you every day. And they want to feel better. And sometimes it's not going to work to say, hey, I need you to pray this stuff away, because they just don't believe it. And that's where you have to either find another way to help them, or just realize that they're just not going to do it the way that you want to do it. And some people love seeing ghosts. Mm-hmm. Oh, they live for it, and will tell you everything that the ghosts tell them, even about you. It's scary, huh?
Yeah, like it's fascinating, but from everything I've learned, it's also usually not a good thing.
Not if it's dark. No, yeah. I've been reading, I read another message from someone, I think, who wants to get into some dark things. I actually wrote about it on the blog last week, and that's when I get really concerned, because we don't want people tapping into black magic and the dark side of voodoo and things like that. And so I have someone now too, who talked about doing some dark stuff. So there are some people that are just going to deal with those things and talk to dark angels, and kids too. And it's really nothing you can do about it, except if you pray, then you pray for them on your own. But sometimes it's really fun now. That's the dark side of it. Sometimes it's really fun. Was there anything that she said that kind of made you chuckle or laugh a little bit?
The thing about the crystals and like throwing them at them, like that'll get away the negative energy. That was kind of funny.
Yeah.
But no, because she seemed pretty scared about it, and like she didn't want it, and so none of the she did say how like one of the cat like hisses and
oh, you left that out.
I forgot about that part. Oh, the cat, yes, the cat will hiss at things that aren't there, closed doors and stuff. That it was just I guess abnormal cat behavior. I don't have cats. I've never been around cats. I don't really know.
Cats are so abnormal. That's who I was shooing away, is my cat started messing with my feet during the podcast. So cats are abnormal. And I think I did a blog about animals, but I don't remember.
Yes, I believe so, because
they definitely can
with the birds, and there's some maybe.
Yeah, no, a specific
maybe that was just about the one.
Because there have been numerous children who talk to me about the same thing that she talked to you about, which is their animals can sense when those things are around. And they will actually look at when the kids can see a dark angel, for example, their animal would be looking at it and barking at it too. Mm-hmm. That's kind of what she told you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Fascinating.
Yes. Well, I apologize for taking up your entire show. Okay. I know you were talking about celebrity ghost stories.
Oh, that's okay. Listen,
but I was so excited to share.
Celebrities can wait. I always like when you guys want to talk. The whole podcast can be about your experiences, so you don't have to apologize for that.
That's thank you for giving me the space.
Absolutely. If you need more time, take 5-6 more minutes. I don't want to hold everybody, longer than about 50 minutes to an hour, but take as much time as you need. This is everybody realize when this does happen to you, it is pretty heavy and scary. It's pretty heavy and scary. So take as much time as you need. This is really interesting.
It is. I guess I don't know. I think I've talked about everything that I've heard so far, but I can't wait to update you next time.
Yeah, so what's the plan? Tell us what the plan is. Are you gonna ask direct questions? Are you going to sit back and gather information? What's your plan going
Yeah,
forward?
I think I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna let the student kind of lead the conversation.
Hmm.
And you know, if they open that door, then we can walk right through and probably still just listen. I think that's the best thing that I can do. And maybe the student is an artist, so
Ooh,
um,
nice.
yeah. So I think I like that drawing a picture
Hmm.
suggestion, and yeah, just continue to believe
Yeah.
and listen and not judge.
Hmm. You know where I got
Yeah.
the idea of drawing pictures?
Where?
One of our ways of testing for, let me not say it this way since I'm talking to the public, we can't give out those
Mm,
things.
yeah.
Drawing pictures is a way to tap into the perception or self perception of people, which some of our projective tests in psychology will do when we use them. And so I took that idea from some of our projective tests. I can give this one out, the
Oh,
Rorschach, which is really old and no one really uses it too much anymore. But
right.
that is a projective test of the figures of the ink blocks, or people used to affectionately call it the ink block test. So I
Yes.
started that with kids that experience trauma. um, if you've ever dealt with a kid who is mute, not selectively mute, but literally mute from the type of trauma that they've been through, you know, those type of children will not talk to you. So in order to help them, I used to have a whiteboard that I would let them use. And when they wouldn't use a whiteboard, not the electronic whiteboard, but just the regular whiteboard, like the
Mm-hmm.
chalkboard, but it's a whiteboard.
Yeah.
When they couldn't do that, I started to have them draw me pictures. And I actually just had another student, I think a week ago, draw me a picture. And it's really effective because when they draw you a picture, you go through each detail and you have to be very crafty with this because there is no standardized way of doing this. So when this child draws you a picture, and if they don't do it in person, ask them to do it at night. Be very Ask really detailed questions. And once you start asking detailed questions, you watch what happens. They
That makes
will love talking to you about that photo. And every
yeah.
dark angel that this child draws, ask the name. Sometimes they know what they're doing in the picture, what they're doing to the child, you know, how that it's almost like a torment, how that torment feels. And when they look at
Mm-hmm.
the picture, what do they feel? So just ask. It's another, it's an unstructured interview of the picture, if you will.
Yeah.
Very detailed with that because you'll gather a lot of information just from that picture. And it will start a striking conversation between the two of you.
That is great advice, and I will definitely take it.
Thank
I
you.
makes in our I've been I've had a lot of training in trauma, and one of the interventions used that's part of it is
Mm-hmm.
having the students draw
Draw.
their
Mm-hmm.
trauma,
That's right.
and yeah, we go through it and we read it with the family, and it's such a powerful um,
Tool.
moment
Mm.
and to see that and um so of course that's going to work with this, since this is you know traumatizing for some of these kids
It is
to see
hard.
this.
It's hard for them to articulate it too. There's
Yeah,
always that underlying fear of this person is going to judge me.
right.
So you have to smile a lot and you have to make them feel really comfortable with telling you details about those pictures and about their lives while living in the world of the paranormal. You know, a lot of people don't believe in the paranormal, and that's fine. They're entitled to their beliefs, but when you encounter a kid like this and you really listen to them, it changes your world and your perception of what they can see. It changed mine.
Yes. Well, your blog has definitely changed mine. So,
Thank you. I'm
well,
glad you read it. Thank you so much. I really
of
appreciate
course.
you joining us. You can call back at any time.
Thank you. I will have to get your advice next time.
You are very welcome. That's what I'm here for. So, we are going to talk about ghost stories next week with celebrities. When you get a chance, read the blog. The website is lisaliganschambers.com. I gathered some stories of of celebrities that I actually might have something in common with some of them. So I look forward to joining you guys next week. Thank you. If you're
Thank you
on
so
social
much.
media, thank you for joining me. Thank you for telling your story.
Thank you for giving me the space and the platform to share this. I appreciate it.
You're absolutely welcome. Hey, you guys have a pleasant Wednesday evening, and I will see you guys next week. Bye bye. Thank you for joining, guys.